After World War II ended in 1945, the Korean Peninsula was liberated from Japanese rule. North Korea fell under the control of the Soviet military, while the South was occupied by United States forces. By 1948, Korea was officially divided into two separate countries along the 38th parallel. The South followed a capitalist system under the leadership of Syngman Rhee, while the North adopted a communist system led by Kim Il-sung. Soviet troops withdrew from the North in 1948, and United States forces withdrew from the South in 1949. However, the two rival governments strongly opposed each other and refused to accept the border as permanent. On June 25, 1950, North Korea launched an attack and crossed the 38th parallel into South Korea. With roughly 75,000 soldiers, the Korean People's Army quickly overwhelmed South Korean forces. They captured the capital, Seoul, and controlled nearly all of South Korea, except for the area around Busan. The Korean War became a major test for United States President Harry Truman. The United States feared that if South Korea fell, communism would spread to other countries through a domino effect. South Korea requested assistance, and the United States pushed for a resolution at the United Nations Security Council. Because Communist China had not yet been recognized, the Soviet Union boycotted the meeting and was unable to use its veto. At that time, China's seat at the United Nations was held by the pro-American nationalist government based in Taiwan. The Security Council called on North Korea to withdraw its troops, but the demand was ignored. The United Nations authorized the formation of a multinational force made up of troops from 16 countries, led by General Douglas MacArthur. In early July 1950, United Nations forces, mainly American troops, landed in South Korea. However, they were quickly pushed back and forced to establish a defensive line around Busan. After receiving reinforcements, MacArthur shifted to a counteroffensive. On September 15, 1950, United States Marines carried out a daring amphibious landing at Incheon. North Korean forces were forced to retreat north of the 38th parallel. By the end of September, Seoul was recaptured, and all of South Korea was liberated. MacArthur was no longer satisfied with containment and wanted to push even further. On October 7, 1950, President Truman authorized United Nations forces to advance into North Korea. Just days later, United Nations forces captured Pyongyang and advanced toward the Yalu River, the border with China. In response, China sent approximately 250,000 troops across the border to support North Korea. United Nations forces suffered heavy defeats and were forced to retreat from North Korea. By January 1951, Chinese and North Korean forces had recaptured the capital, Seoul. MacArthur proposed using atomic bombs against China, but after refusing to follow orders, he was dismissed by President Truman. In June 1951, additional United Nations reinforcements arrived and pushed Chinese and North Korean forces back to the 38th parallel. The war settled into a stalemate, and peace negotiations began in July but failed to reach an agreement. In early 1953, General Dwight D. Eisenhower took office as President of the United States and sought to bring the war to an end. On July 27, 1953, an armistice agreement was signed at Panmunjom along the 38th parallel. A demilitarized zone was established between the two sides and remains in place to this day. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you do not miss more history videos. Thank you all so much for the support you have shown to the channel.